Hey folks, so I guess I'm gonna start off with the normal stuff first, just try to psych myself up here. If you like our channel, it's super helpful if you hit that subscribe button. Uh, hitting like on videos lets me know that this is content that you guys think is worthwhile to see and helps me to make more of that type of content. If I see a video that's got a bunch of likes, then I know that's something you all want. Dropping comments below, lets me know that you're actually people interested in our content and lets me know that I can, try to answer your questions if you've got them. It helps me feel, valued and valuable. I guess so. To just start off with it, today's Friday morning. I'll try to get this video up today because it shouldn't take me much editing at all, if any. On Wednesday, when I went out to do chores in the morning, I found our boar Benedict dead. God, I love that boar. It's taken me a couple days to be able to work past this to be able to make a video. There's no way I was going to be able to do it on the day of. When you lose an animal like that, it's drastically different than when you cull an animal. When you're culling one, like when we just culled Muffin, I've had a month, 2 months at least there to come to that decision to cull her and to come to terms with it, and you feel that there's still value to that animal's life. And hers was a lot of she'd had 2 different piglets stuck. I thought I was going to lose her on both litters and that she was just going to die and those piglets were going to be stuck without a mom, and that then I was going to have to deal with that. So with hers, it was very much I don't want her to die a terrible, painful death in childbirth, and then leave a bunch of orphan piglets to have to care for. So hers was fairly easy. Processing was a much quicker, easier way for her to go than what seemed like was going to be most likely. 2 litters in a row had a stuck piglet like that, the one taking over 6 hours to pull the piglet, and I didn't think she was going to make it afterwards. Afterwards, she was very lethargic, very swole. I was sure I had destroyed her insides. I doubt she would have bred back. So that one was a pretty easy decision to make, but even that, I went back and forth for a couple weeks. You have an animal around like that, you're not supposed to make them be like pets, but it becomes that way when you've had a breeding animal around for years. And I've only had Benedict around for a year, maybe year and a half. But you get attached, especially to boars. I feel like sows too. I guess there's no real difference here. I'm just kind of stuck on it because I lost him. I guess we'll go into the nitty gritty here, the stuff you guys really actually care to hear about with this. So I went out to do chores in the morning, and this was after the video of me putting him and his 3 ladies in with her. So he went in with her the morning of Tuesday, and as you saw in that video, he was all riled up and doing his boar thing, ready to try to mount her. She was tail end or just off of heat, so not ready to really be bred again. It was going to be another 3 weeks, but boars get worked up. But we've been stuck here in a week of 103 for a high, back to back to back to back. I think the lowest high we've had in the last 3-4 days has been probably 99 for a high. And then the whole rest of this week, it's still supposed to be, I think we're supposed to get up to 105. And I know it gets much, much hotter lower down in the States. We've got friends down in Oklahoma that are sitting at 110 on and off. But for a boar to be real worked up like that in that heat, then he's not drinking because he's too focused. They get very narrow-sighted. So he got real worked up. I went in to do chores that next morning, and looked into the barn because nobody came out for food except for Ginger, and went around into there and saw over in the barn where I was walking towards them, they've got one of those little Lowe's shed things that I really need to tear down and build something better because it's falling apart. But I noticed one of them was just laying funny and not moving. And you know, from a distance, it was just 4 black pigs. It's hard to tell. But I didn't like the way it was laying. So I went over, and there were flies all over his mouth. He was dead. I couldn't get his 3 ladies off and away from him. They wouldn't leave his side. And I don't know if that was just, they weren't hot yet. It was only like 8 in the morning. So, I mean, it was warm out here, but it was still just below 80. Yeah, so first things first was to call the vet, figure out what I needed to do to get a necropsy on him. They don't have somebody to come pick up, so I had to haul him in. He's in an awkward pin. I called up some amazing friends up the road, Millsap Farm. They're just phenomenal. I can't even stress how amazing that was for them to come out and help the way they did. Curtis was out here within 30 minutes. I've got the trailer backed up to the fence, cut the fence down, pulled it to the side. Him and a gaggle of children. These are amazing children. Not a single one, you know, freaked out about a dead pig. They're just farm kids through and through. We all took ropes and we drug them up onto the trailer. And from there I patched the fence back up enough to make sure nobody else came out. Super watered everybody to make sure that, you know, their wallow was topped off. Nobody else is going to have any issues, because I'd already had a suspicion that it could have been one of 3 things, which I'll go into in just a sec. Took him into the vet, got him unloaded at the vet. They had him in a barn. It was already getting hot, but he wasn't bloated or anything yet. He seemed fine enough for me. I didn't know what they would do to keep him cool and body preserved. They weren't really able to do a whole lot. It was, they were able to go out real quick and do a cursory look at him. And then by the time they were able to go out to do the necropsy, it was about 2 hours later, because they'd had some rush stuff come in. And you know, live animals take priority, of course. That's just how that goes, and I totally understand. And that was great. They called me up and they were like, look, here's kind of what we're thinking, especially based on the stuff you told us. But we're not going to be able to do a full-out necropsy. We can't take samples. He's fully autolyzed at this point, and there's just going to be no benefit to you. They didn't think they'd be able to get much out of him. And you know, in my frustratedness, I'd wondered why. I'm always trying to be as nice as I can to them. I never want to come off as rude, because they have done so much amazing for us, taking last-minute pigs, always being available. They're fantastic. It's Fairgrove Vet. Absolutely love them. So they said that they don't dispose with large animals because their cremator person won't be able to take them. So I called Springfield Landfill. Springfield Landfill wouldn't take it at past 2, and it was getting to be about 2 by that point. It was like 1:45-ish by the time we were able to get him back and loaded up. And he was, by that point, I mean, it was 103 that day, maybe even up to 104, I don't remember now. He was very bloated. It was it was like, no, there's no way they were gonna cut this open to get anything useful out of it at this point. So we had noticed a few different issues that it could have been. The other ones, I'm not real confident they are. So we had noticed a ton of blister beetles out in the field that they had just come from. And blister beetles can be an issue. Look them up, they're horrifying. They're about this big, stripes on their back. They love pigweed. They've been annihilating ours. But our pigs like pigweed too. I know there are some sayings of them being able to kill pigs through nitrate poisoning, and I feel bad for a breeder that just lost a bunch of piglets that way. But we've yet to have issues with it. It may just be a different variety of pigweed. I know there's a dozen different species of pigweed, but yeah. So figured there was a chance for that. When I did pull him back out of that shed, it disturbed a nest of probably 30 wasps in a pallet that was on the wall there. right above where he was laying. So I don't know if he had an allergic reaction to wasp stings. But the vet is pretty confident. Looking him over, he was like, this boar was in perfect health. He didn't look like he had any chronic issues. He was not thin at all. He was very muscular, very fit. He said he noticed from when they had first brought him in and gave him a quick look over, they didn't notice anything, any weird things that would look like funky discharge beyond the little bit of blood already coming out of his nose from being dead and flies going in and out. Nothing that looked suspicious in any way. So he was pretty confident with him having gone in with her and then spending an entire day in 103-degree weather, just, being a boar and all worked up, that caused him to have a heat stroke. Yeah, so I guess the best I can say here, I guess to continue what we did and what is valuable to you. So we brought him home, and we always run a big compost pile. And one of the accepted methods of livestock disposal, carcass disposal, is to compost it. And a lot of big places I've worked at, they'll just run a giant sawdust pit in the back. And you just take a backhoe, dig a big enough hole in the sawdust pit, and put them in, cover it, and keep going. And even the vet had recommended a sawdust pit. So like, this is one of the things we covered when I was in college going over USDA accepted disposal methods. So we came home, dug a giant hole in our compost pile. That honestly, I don't know the last time we really used much of it in the garden, but it doesn't matter. It's still safe because it sits there forever, and it's pig poop. It needs to sit there for about a year anyways. So we dug a big hole in it, managed to drag him right off and into the big hole, covered it back up with about 2 foot of material. Actually, we did straw first. I put a bale of straw over it to add some extra lignous material because a lot of this compost is mostly broke down. I was mostly finished, but a lot of it was clean out from the piglet barn there. And then, so straw, and then covered and buried him back up. And as it sinks down where he's at, it's right over here. As it sinks down in the middle where he's at, I'll then add more from the sides to cover back up. To make sure that he stays about 2 foot down. So then there's no smell. There's a mild smell, honestly, when you hit just the right angle, but I also pulled out a skull from a pig that we had lost earlier this year. So I think that may be what most of the smell is, so I probably ought to get rid of that before my wife is like, oh, it smells. But there really was no other option anyways. So, and there's no way you could dig a hole out in the field or anything like that. It's so dry, you can't, a shovel bounces off the ground right now. But this will give the fastest breakdown. As long as I keep that compost pile watered, that's where he'll break down the fastest. With this heat, and if I keep it watered, less than 3 weeks and he'll be bones. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I guess just be mindful of what you do when it's this hot, the things that might work your animals up. Keep those wallows full. That's part of morning chores now. It has been all summer here, but just keep it in mind, double check your wallows, top them off when it's this hot, to where it's not just mud, it's a swimming pool, that they can all stay cool, that they have plenty of fresh cold water to drink, and that you don't do something like throw a boar in with all their sows and get them all worked up. There's no way Ginger got bred. I will not be putting her with Toast. I will just forego having a litter from her this fall. I do not want to risk working up Toast and losing him too. So I'll just wait, and she'll get bred this fall when everybody else's litters are weaned off. That'll actually probably be about December, I think, end of November, beginning of December. And we'll just breed then for her with everyone else. And I'll have to track down another boar that's breeding age by then to replace him, because I've already got deposits out for this spring's litters. So Hey Terry. I've got to track down another boar to replace him, but I won't do it until, I mean, I'll probably start looking, kinda, but we're pretty picky, and if I'm gonna get an adult boar, I want to be very picky. Um, Benedict has left a pretty big shadow for a boar to fill, so yeah, I think I'm gonna call it good. You guys have a great rest of your day.